Thanks for tuning into the 6-3 podcast. I'm your host, Joel, and I am visited by a good friend of the show, Blake Timmer, our MLB specialist for the Buskard group as well, real estate. Blake is your go-to guy for all things buying, selling, brokering, property management. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how deep that goes. I'll just add this massive list. Baseball gambling, he'll go to all things. Jack of all trades over there is Blake Timmer. Obviously, he was here for the MLB preview show back in April. And how time has flown. It's been exactly 6 months, I think, since Blake was on that April 6th MLB preview.
Yeah.
So wild how much time has flown in that span of time. We've had a baby since then. So it's weird to think about. But the MLB season is not over. We are now walking into the playoffs, and the playoffs have expanded. There are 12 teams this year, so I think they added 2 to the playoffs system. And Blake and I are going to break down at least the opening games, and then we're going to make our predictions and try to deduce from there to make our ALCS, NLCS, World Series predictions. So that's where we break off, because we'll know we're going to be in agreement on the 12 teams in the playoffs, but we may have a different outcome at the beginning here. So let's start here with the Rays Guardians. It looks like the projected pitching matchup is going to be Shane McClanahan versus Shane Bieber. And I think it's actually the first time we're in playoff history where 2 Shanes have faced off against each other. So that'll be fun. Then you have Tyler Glasnow projected for game 2 versus breakout player Tristan McKenzie, who's been a pleasant surprise and probably a big reason why the Guardians have done better than expected. I think we went into the season thinking they had a really goated pitching staff. We didn't think they had the offense to sustain it. I remember talking about that in April. And then that third game, from what I've heard, is the Rays are planning on splitting Drew Rasmussen and Jeffrey Springs as the starters in that game. And then that'll be Cal Quantrill for the Guardians. So when you look at these pitching matchups, when you look at this potential projected lineups that these teams are going to roll out into game 1 through 3 in this matchup, what stands out, and who do you think brings home the bacon in this one?
See, I'm a big firm Kevin Cash guy. He always brings teams to the playoffs, and it seems like we're always like, they're all right. They're not the one to stand out, and it seems like we kind of write them off and say, yeah, they'll probably, go probably first round. They won't make it out. So we obviously have Randy Rosarena. We know what he's done in the playoffs. He'll be a great guy to have in the playoffs and leadership there. So I see the Rays taking over the Guardians. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think there's going to be a lot of runs scored around it all, just because I think we've got a lot of good pitching on both sides. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. I don't know what your thoughts were. You might have the other side.
So that's actually interesting. I like when there's a little bit of difference here, because I am picking the Guardians, but I'm picking the Guardians in 3. I don't know if you were thinking the Rays in 2 or something. I think if it does go to 2, though, I could definitely see why the Rays would do that. I think, with Glasnow and McClanahan, those are really good starters. And if those guys give them 6, 7 good innings, then I think they can do something with it, because I also really like the bullpen with, obviously Springs comes out of the bullpen. They have Jason Adam, Peter Fairbanks, Trevor Stephen. Not Trevor Stephen. Who's on Poche. Colin Poche, Brooks Raley. Yeah, there's really good pitchers out of that bullpen. And, they'll probably even end up using Corey Kluber in the bullpen too in one of these games if they need to. So I like the pitching staff a lot for the Rays, but I do like the pitching staff a lot, and we kind of bragged about it early in the season. My thoughts on the Guardians pitching staff hasn't wavered. I mean, I like Bieber, McKenzie, Quantrill, Aaron Savali, Zach Plesac. Emmanuel Clase to me is probably a reliever of the year candidate.
Yeah.
James Karinchak has been good. And I think he was originally planning on being a closer, and obviously Clase has been outstanding. So Karinchak has turned into the setup man. And when you have Sam Henches and Trevor Stephen there, those are good bullpen guys too for the Guardians. So I think I agree with you that there will not be a lot of runs scored. I actually ranked the Rays' potential lineup last 12 out of 12 out of all these teams. So I'm not big on their lineup, but I'm not big on the Guardians either. I have the Guardians ranked 11 for out of 12. And so this game goes either way for me. I think the home field advantage is what it comes down to. So I think the Guardians, I think they win game 1, and the Rays win 2 or something, and then it comes back to the Guardians, right? So
yeah, I think it's going to be a 3-game series. It's gonna be a fight, and you can see why they put it on noon on Friday, because it's probably not the biggest market game for either team. So they're like,
no
let's
one
get
wants
this one
those
over.
teams. I mean, people are rooting for the Rays because it is a small market. Anytime a small market team proves they can still make it with like their salary cap and stuff that they ran, I think people kind of root for the underdogs in that situation. And I'll root for Isak parties. I mean, we got stiffed in that trade.
Yeah.
Turns out. Wish the best for Austin Meadows. Hope he gets together. But Parties was raking home runs for a good period there.
He hit more than Meadows, that's for sure.
Yeah, by a lot. Yeah, that's not what I expected from Meadows. I mean, Meadows hit for average for a little bit. I think Meadows still hit like 270 before he went down, but 0 home runs and like 13 RBIs. But yeah, I hope he gets his vertigo under control and his other injuries and depression and anxiety, everything. So, like I said, it's a battle, but I think it's the superstar factor for me. Jose Ramirez is an MLB superstar, and the Rays don't have a superstar in their lineup other than a Rosarena was, the Cinderella story in years past in the playoffs. But I think for the most part, Yandy Diaz and Wander Franco, Isak Parties, like those guys, they're not great players. You don't get excited about Manuel Margot. So I think there's enough pop with, Josh Naylor, Jose Ramirez. And then with the average, the good base hitting players like Stephen Kwan, who kind of was a nice surprise as a rookie this year. And then Miles Straw, Andres Jimenez. So, I mean, you have all those guys that they can make good contact with the ball. They get on base. They run base as well. Not a lot of mistakes defensively. And I think with the pitching battle, I think it's they're going to have to make plays on defense. So, yeah, this game goes either way for me. It's actually probably one of the hardest ones for me to pick. But I'm gonna go with the Guardians. So
yeah, and I know Brandon Lowe's out as well. Mm-hmm. That doesn't help Tampa Bay at all here, because that's one of their bigger pieces in their lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have one of the better bench players though in the playoffs. I like David Peralta a lot. He's going to probably be one of their rotational platoon outfielders that they got earlier from the year from the Diamondbacks. So, let's go to the next game here with the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays. I have the Blue Jays in 2 actually in this one.
Wow. Okay.
Are you a Mariners guy?
No, I don't have the Mariners going, but just watching them at the end of the season here facing the Tigers, they definitely can put up runs. And I know the Tigers obviously weren't a huge challenge for them, but they ended on a good note.
Well, the Tigers were the hottest team in baseball there for that last 2 weeks.
Too. So they did give them some good competition. Never like to see a team lose to a team that throws a position player out there, and then.
Luis Torrens, Cy Young winner. Give it to him.
Yeah.
I mean, Gregory Soto 0-2 in the last 2 games, man.
Yeah, Torrens got hot. Yeah, they had a couple guys get hot there at the end. So I think they might ride that a little bit into so I have the Blue Jays still within 3. I don't think it's going to be. Yeah, the Blue Jays are still young and exciting. It'll be an exciting series for sure.
Well, I ranked the Blue Jays lineup at 2nd out of 12. I do actually really like their lineup. I have the potential with George Springer, Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Alejandro Kirk probably DHing, Matt Chapman, Teoscar Hernandez, Raimel Tapia. Then I'm going to have Danny Jansen catch and Whit Merrifield at 2nd. But, you can throw out Kevin Biggio. Otto Lopez was pretty solid. Jackie Bradley Jr. I like some of the – Gabriel Moreno is a backup catcher too as well. So I like the Blue Jays lineup a lot. And then I look at the Mariners – I didn't drag on them. I have them 9 out of 12 with Julio Rodriguez, Ty France, Mitch Haniger, Eugenio Suarez, who I've missed very much from the Tigers, Jesse Winker, Carlos Santana, DHing, Adam Frazier, Cal Raleigh catching, J.P. Crawford batting 9-hole at shortstop. But like you said, Torrens, Kirk Casale, they're pretty loaded at catcher there. They could throw either one of those guys out between Raleigh and technically Carlos Santana. It's probably an emergency fourth catcher, right? So
Yeah, I feel like Carlos Santana's kind of, it's the end of his time. He's bounced around a couple teams. He just hasn't had that Cleveland Indians.
He's just going to be that 20
style.
home runs a year with 220 batting average. It's not anything exciting.
Yeah.
And then Jared Kelenic on the bench. I like that a lot too for him. Abraham Toros played pretty well as a pinch hitter. And so, yeah, I don't know. When I look at the pitching, I ranked the Blue Jays 11 out of 12 though, so that's the concern there. I mean, Alec Manoah's been solid, Kevin Gausman, but I think you get after that, Ross Stripling, up and down. Jose Barrio is probably one of the biggest disappointments of the entire season, to be honest. Yeah. I had him probably as a top 5 Cy Young candidate at the beginning of the year. Jordan Romano's a top 4 bullpen guy in the playoffs. I like Kimi Garcia. Simber's good as a side armor, and Tim Meza. But, when you have the Mariners with, former Tiger, Robbie Ray, Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, Kirby's been pretty good. And even Marco Gonzalez went 7 against the Tigers the other day. Then you have Sewald and Penn Murphy, and Muniz and Eric Swanson. So I don't know. I think Mariners are deeper pitching wise. I think you get a couple guys in the surface level for the Blue Jays that have to be really good. You have to bank on Manoah and Gausman going 7. And you have to bank on, Romano and Simber shutting the game down in the back end. And I think that's doable. You did talk about how hot, the Mariners have been as of late. So that's a concern. But I think there's just a lot more experience right now for the Blue Jays, and I think that's going to come in handy. So, yeah. I mean, we agree that the Blue Jays will win, but you have the Mariners giving them a little more hell than I do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think, neither lineup is gonna, the Blue Jays definitely are going to be much better hitting than the Mariners. It's not even close.
Yeah, it's a fun lineup for the Blue Jays. I thought at the beginning of the year too they were a top 3 lineup for me. So. Let's go to the NL games here. The Philadelphia Phillies and the St. Louis Cardinals. How do you expect this series to go down?
This one will be a little interesting. I think everybody's going to be rooting for Albert. Everybody's going to want, Wainwright, Albert, Yachty, all those. They're going to want to see him win. I do have them taking out the Phillies in the first and 3. I think they're going to go much further than there, but I think they're going to make it past. They have the guys that have experience, been there. They have a pretty decent team. Really does have good pitching. I think that'll be something we'll have to overcome, but I think the Cinderella story will keep them going.
I have the exact same thing as you. 3 games for the Cardinals in this one. Yeah, experience I think is going to take the cake in this one. Cardinals I have ranked 5 out of 12 for their lineup. I have them ranked 9 out of 12 for pitching. But yeah, I mean, I remember I go back to the very first episode where we recorded our MLB preview and we were just going through all the teams and we're talking about the Cardinals, and I'm like, the Cardinals, they got some guys when we were going through the NL Central, and I said something about Lars Nootbaar, and you guys were all like, who's Lars Nootbaar? And I'm like, dude, he's the best name in baseball. That's what it is. And I think he's turned into an everyday player now. I think down the stretch here for the Cardinals, and I think he's going to be in the starting lineup in this series. Probably batting second behind Brendan Donovan, playing right field. So yeah, I like Donovan, Nootbaar, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Corey Dickerson, Pujols, Dylan Carlson, who's probably been another one of the bigger disappointments of the season. I think people expected more from him. Then you got Yachty to be a catcher and Tommy Edman to play shortstop, but he can play anywhere. Then we talk about, the Phillies. Al Schwarber leading off probably, Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, best catcher probably in baseball for me. Alec Baum, Nick Castellanos, another major, just an anomaly this year, basically, for him. Hits really well when bad things happen. You notice
Yeah.
that. Then you got Brandon Marsh, Jean Segura, and Stott. I don't like their depth very much either. I think it's probably the worst bench for the Phillies out of all these teams. I think maybe outside of Vierling and Garrett Stubbs can catch if he needs to. I really don't like that bench at all. So, yeah, I look at this matchup, probably Wheeler Wainwright game one. Then you have Nola and Nicholas and Ranger Suarez versus Jordan Montgomery, possibly. But, I've also heard that, the Cardinals might throw Flaherty out there or even Quintana, who's pitched really well since he's come over to Cardinals from the Pirates. So,
Yeah, I heard they might do a split kind of a split start or something too. Anything goes after the race, kind of defined the opener. But
yeah, and I like the back end of the bullpen with Helsley, Gallegos, and Dakota Hudson. Those are good arms. 7, 8, 9 if you need them. Phillies, like I said, I think Ben actually picked Wheeler as the NL Cy Young in the preseason. Wheeler has that ability. Nola's been consistent. They can probably put Syndergaard out there. Kyle Gibson, another guy that's probably disappointed a lot of people this year. One of the better names in baseball they have, Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Yeah, he lights out.
He is.
He's got lights out stuff.
Yeah. He's pretty inconsistent sometimes where balls all over. I'm like, who did he remind me of when I was watching him pitch the other day? Just crazy stuff. But it was like sometimes you just didn't. Maybe like I don't know, like a Latino.
Bruce Rondon. Probably
I was Rondon was. I was gonna say, yeah, I guess that's a good. We can come up with like a Latino match, but I was thinking Ryan Perry for a minute there, like going way back.
Okay.
Like Ryan Perry had the stuff, but just like never knew where it was gonna go sometimes. So, yeah, I like Chris Davinsky too. He hasn't been what he usually is when he was with the Astros out of the bullpen, but this is another fun matchup with a lot of players that you like to root for. Schwarber's always a guy that. We remember him with the Cubs run too, and so just there's players in this thing to root for, and I think Pujols with Wainwright and Yachty, like you talked about, that's gonna have people cheering at least to like win at least a playoff series.
Yeah.
So, and I think they can do it. I think the experience will help take the cake here. So the next one, the San Diego Padres versus the New York Mets. This probably could have been a way more exciting one if we looked at this beginning of the season and we said that the Padres were playing the Mets. We'd probably think it was going to be like the NLCS.
Yeah,
some people outside the Dodgers maybe, with Tatis Jr. having his own issues, just injuries not panning out for him too out of the rotation. I think that kind of killed him. When they picked up Hader, that didn't work out for him at first. I think Hader's kind of settled in now, but they were really struggling there for a minute where they put all that money out and they were like, are these guys even going to make the playoffs at this point? Took a lot of gambles with Soto and everything because that could have been a super lineup with Tatis and stuff.
Yeah.
But we're looking at probably Darvish versus Scherzer and Snell versus DeGrom and then Musgrove versus Bassett. And to me, I'm thinking Mets in 2.
Yeah, I've got Mets in 3. And I think it's just a hard loss without Tatis. I think that's a big piece that's missing. They do have decent pitching. I think they'll do okay, but yeah, I just feel like the Mets are they've kind of come back on after struggling for a while, and they've got Jeff McNeil that'll be a big piece. That lineup.
Padres had Brandon Dixon though. Let's not.
Yeah, I did see that. I had to pull up to make sure that was the same Brandon Dixon.
Yeah, it's the same Brandon Dixon. Good grief.
It was like, where'd this guy come from? I'm like,
still around. Tigers home run leader in 2019. Wow.
Hey, I don't know why he didn't get paid, but
he should have. But if you look at the Tigers 2022 and 2019 seasons, the home runs leaders, Javi Baez is first with 17. Wow. So yeah, I was actually looking at this, and I have the Padres lineup ranked 10. And I do have their pitching staff ranked 12. But I think all these pitching staffs are really good, so it was actually really hard for me to rank this. But Sean Manaea, Clevenger's been hurt a lot this year, but Morone and Tim Hill and Luis Garcia, Robert Suarez, Nick Martinez, good arms. I don't think when you line these up with other teams, it's quite up to par with everyone else. So when I look at these when the lineup, and I think the Mets are just really good. I have the Mets ranked 6 for pitching staff, and I think I have them 6 for hitting for their lineup too. But that's based on top 6. I think the bottom of their lineup, the 7, 8, 9 hitters, could use some work. But yeah, I think it's good enough to at least advance to the next round here.
Yeah, they have Edwin Diaz, so
that's all it takes with that Timmy Trumpet.
That'll slam the door. So
yep. I don't know, man. With Enter Sandman, Mariano still got the cake on that one, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So I think from that you pick. So I think every game you put in 3, right? That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm a 3 gamer. I want to see it. I want to see more baseball.
The more baseball, the better. Yeah. That's wear those guys out going to the next round.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I've got 2 and 2 and 2 and 3. So I have the Blue Jays versus Astros, which is also what you picked. The Astros are probably going to bring out Verlander, Framber Valdez, and Christian Javier is probably either him or McCullers probably is the pitcher for that third game. But do you see any way the Blue Jays can win this series?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's too many guys on Houston that have been there. We know how Verlander is already in the playoffs.
Kind of sus sometimes, honestly.
I feel like
at least Tigers Verlander was like,
he'll give him length. He had a couple against the A's.
Yeah, 6 innings, 5 earned runs. Yeah.
It was a little better. I'm gonna have to pull that up later, but I think he'll do fine.
Astros are just so deep, dude. I looked at their pitching, and even if you bring Verlander out there, Framber Valdez, McCullers for 3, then you could put Christian Javier, Luis Garcia, Jose Urquidy, and I'm like, man. And then you got Ryan Presley is probably one of the best bullpen guys. Then Montero, Stanek, Brian Abreu, Hunter Brown if he makes the playoff roster.
I think they still have Will Smith back there too, don't they?
Will Smith has been a little disappointing. I mean, if you ask a lot of Astros fans, Will Smith wasn't quite what they wanted him to be. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's there for their choosing. I mean, but with Presley and Montero and Abreu, Stanek, all those guys have been huge. And just the fact that you can bring out Verlander, Valdez, McCullers, and still have Javier, Garcia, and Urquidy, it's like that's almost not fair.
Yeah, no, they've got, and then you look at the lineup and you're like, okay, these guys can.
Yeah, and I have the Astros lineup ranked 7, but I actually think that's still a really good lineup outside of 7, 8, 9. I mean, Pena, shortstop, McCormick, center field, Maldonado, or Christian Vasquez at catcher at 9. That's a 7, 8, 9, but I like Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, Mancini now, and then Gurriel. Those first 6 guys. There's a lot to like there. Aledmus Diaz has been on a lot of playoff teams. Mauricio Dubon, Jake Myers. So they've got a bench too. They need to bring people out, but yeah, the first 6 are some of the best and probably one of the best top 6 parts of the lineup in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, so. And they've all been there. So
with cheating or not, yeah, they've all been there.
Exactly. Well, yeah, we don't have to throw the trash cans at it, but
yeah, I mean, they'll make sure there's no trash cans in the building this time. So yeah, I guess we're pretty much on par there. I'm trying to remember what I picked that series in. I took a picture on my phone. So I have the Astros 3. I do have the Astros in 5.
Oh really? I have in 3. I think that's gonna go quick. The Blue Jays are gonna be tired from beating up on Seattle, and then it's just gonna go quick.
Okay. Well, at least we'll be able to move on to the next round knowing it's the Astros. We can at least go with that. You have the Rays facing the Yankees, right?
Yep.
And so that's where we're different on. So you tell me what you expect from the Rays Yankees.
Yeah, that's not going to be. I don't think either one that comes out of that, even if the Guardians do make it, it's both of them are going to get beat up. But between the Yankees' good pitching and the obviously high-powered lineup of the Yankees, it's going to be a quick series. I can see that one going in three pretty easy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I have the Yankees lineup as the number 4 lineup, and I think it's probably the difference between 4 and 2, because it's just very judge centered
yeah,
right now. But yeah, Yankees I also have as a 7 rotation starting. Cole, Cortez, Severino. See, that's the concern is their third pitcher, and you know what you're going to get out of Cole and Cortez this year, but the fact that you can go between Severino and Tyon. Domingo Herman, that's fine. I don't really like their bullpen either. Like Loaisaga, Efforus, Lou Trevino, Clay Holmes, or Aroldis Chapman. It's okay.
Efforus has been pretty good. After they picked him up, I know he got hurt there for a little while, but he definitely throws it from a different angle.
And I think Clay Holmes is actually a really good guy there. I mean, we hear the name Aroldis Chapman, we're like, good, and he's still got fast stuff, but he's not the same pitcher he was.
Yeah, and we've seen him in the playoffs before. Sometimes it just feels like he just tries to throw hard and doesn't really pitch. He's just throwing, and then all of a sudden he gets in trouble.
Mm-hmm. I do have the Yankees winning as well. So yeah, regardless of that situation, we'll at least agree on that. I have the Yankees in 4 over the Guardians, so I have the Guardians at least take 1, but I think that's just purely based on how confident I am in the pitching staff. There might be a game where they just hold the Yankees to 1 or 2 and do enough. So yeah, I'll have them steal 1. But from there, the Mets Dodgers is what I have, and I think we were in agreement on that as well. Dodgers are going to probably throw out Urias and Kershaw and Anderson to pitch since Buehler is not playing.
Yeah,
and that was your NL Cy Young preseason prediction. And that's fine. I mean, when he was healthy, he did okay. There's nothing to complain about when he did pitch. So, but yeah, like I said, I have the Dodgers as the number 2 pitching staff and the number 1 offense. So to me, they're just really good all the way around. If Tyler Anderson doesn't pitch, then you can at least. I don't know if Dustin May was planning on being back. I know they were hoping he was. Gonsolin, I'm not sure if Tony Gonsolin's going to be back either. That changes things. Andrew Heaney can even pitch if he needs to. But then you got guys like Evan Phillips and Yency Almonte and Alex Vegia and Brusdar Graterol and Blake Trinan and Tommy Canley and Chris Martin. So just deep all the way around for pitching. And then with a lineup of Betts, Turner, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, Justin Turner, Gavin Lux, Chris Taylor, and Cody Bellinger batting 9. That's a lot to be happy about. I mean, Austin Barnes is a solid reserve catcher. Former Tiger Trace Thompson, Joey Gallo, Anzer Alberto. They've got other guys that can just step in if they need to as well. So I have the Dodgers winning this in 4 over the Mets.
They were talking about how Joey Gallo was kind of in the bubble. They didn't know if they were going to take him or not. But I guess Dave Roberts said they're going to take him and they'll see where he fits.
They'll probably at least, I think if he does okay, and whether it's in hitting more, I don't know if he's going to get more than a pinch hitting opportunity against a righty. Maybe I think that's going to be their best.
That's the thing is it's not like you're picking him up to hit for a pitcher anymore. Doesn't matter. So I don't know.
It's going to be like the Braves with Robbie Grossman. He's very just niche. He has to be against a certain
pitcher. And Joey Gallo is my least favorite person in baseball. So he's the epitome.
Really? What did he do to you, Blake?
He's the epitome of bad baseball. It's either home run or walk. It's nothing.
He was the Rangers. He did okay for a minute.
Yeah, but that's not how baseball should be.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I think we're going to be unanimous on the Dodgers advancing. You have the Dodgers in how many games against the Mets?
Let me go 4 there.
Okay. Yep. Same here, then. All right, and then we'll go to the Cardinals versus Braves. We talked about how the Cardinals, squeeze out that first one on experience alone, but did they get much further than that against the Braves with Max Fried, Kyle Wright, and Charlie Morton? I don't know. I don't think so. Jake Odorizzi is also there. Spencer Strider, Kenley Jansen, Reichel. I think that's the best bullpen right here is Kenley Jansen and Iglesias, AJ Minter, Colin McHugh, and Matzik. I think that's a really good bullpen. I think. At least
you got to remember, Jansen's has up and downs. He's
And that's
so,
true. And playoff pass too. He also has been like, ooh,
yeah.
he's kind of wild.
Not saying he's not going to do well. It's just you gotta.
He did have a good regular season though. I felt like
Yeah.
at least in its entirety.
Yeah.
And Spencer Strider was a nice rookie surprise for them.
I'm glad he's back and healthy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
He was fun to watch pitch this year. Yeah, so we look at that lineup with the Braves lineup also being I ranked number 3. Acuna Jr., Dansby Swanson, Michael Harris the second. That turned out to be a nice little treat that they got too. Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Travis d'Arnaud, Wilson Contreras, Eddie Rosario, and Orlando Arcia. But then you got Vaughn Grissom, Marcell Ozuna, Robbie Grossman's obviously there too. So I don't know, man. The Braves. Do the Cardinals give the Braves fits here and pull? Are we going to pick an upset in this round, or are we going to stick with the basics? I did pick the Braves again, and I felt like it was super cliche, but I do have at least going 5 to make another close one.
Okay, I had 4. I'm big on 4. Seeing Braves got good pitching, good hitting. They've pretty much locked up their infield for a long time, so they're going to be a good team for a long time.
Yeah, these 1 and 2 seeds for the AL and NL, it's kind of what we expected. Just they're really good teams. These are teams that we thought were really good even at the beginning of the year. So it's not much of a surprise they turned out to be the 1 and 2 seeds. But yeah, from there, that means you've got the Yankees Astros. What do you think happens in that series for the ALCS?
Well, the Yankees Astros, that'll just like on the other side, it's going to be those four teams that are going to make it to play in. It's kind of a toss up there. All of them are high powered teams, and the Yankees. But like we said, the Astros just have so much more experience, and I think they just have the pitching to go. I think they're going to take it. I think the Astros are going to be playing for the World Series.
I have the Astros in as well. I have the Astros in 5.
I had them in 6. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be a fun matchup. But we talked about how deep the Astros are in pitching. Seems like they can go to anybody, and I think the Yankees are just so fluid. Like it's either one day they're super elite, the other day it's just Aaron Judge that decides to hit, and sometimes Aaron Judge is just going to go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. That's kind of what happens with Aaron Judge sometimes. So, I think there's going to be more consistency, deeper pitching. So I like the Astros in that situation. So I agree with you there that they'll be in the
We've seen how streaky the Yankees are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a while they were like, oh, they're choking this hard. One of the best teams to start the season, and then they had a really rough patch. So the NLCS with the Dodgers Braves. I've got the Dodgers in 5 over the Braves.
I got the Braves in 6. So
ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
I picked the Braves. I picked the Braves last year's, and they kind of they ruined it for me. So
I think the Braves they're back, so they gotta go with it again. They're give another stab. They're gonna be good. We've already said they're gonna be good. So
I just don't know if I like their starting pitching enough. I mean, outside of Max Fried, Kyle Wright's had a good year, but I don't. To me, inconsistent starts from him still because he's young. Odorizzi. It's okay, Strider. We'll see how he is in his first postseason. You just a lot of concerns there. Like I said, I really like their bullpen. They'll probably have to go to it early against the Dodgers.
The thing we know is the biggest thing in the playoffs is bullpen. So, teams that have the good bullpens and they can produce are the ones usually that win.
I think the Dodgers have a good bullpen though too. I think Evan Phillips has been good this year. Almani, Beja, Gratterall, Trinan's back. I think I saw Trinan was going to play.
Yeah.
So, and Tommy Canley's been pretty solid. So I don't know. That's a fun one. I think if you're going to pick the Braves, you got to do 7 though. It's bold. I like it though. The last time though, I think I'm just bitter from last year. They let me down. So yeah, I don't. That'll be a fun series though. I very much look forward to that. And I'm relatively confident that's going to be the end. Like it's hard to picture any other of the besides these four teams in their championship series. I just don't see how any of these other ones get in. Outside of some crazy fluke, they have to win two.
Yeah, I think all these teams have a good chance of winning it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these four are the powerhouses. So in that World Series, though, you've got the Braves, Astros. I've got the Astros, Dodgers. What do you expect in your matchup?
I expect the Braves. I'm riding the Braves all the way. I think the Astros. I would love to say Verlander's gonna make it there and win a Cy Young, win a World Series, all this good stuff. But I've got to hold off a little bit on that and know that the Braves are definitely good, and I think they're going to be good for a long time, and they're going to do it again.
I like the variety, man. That makes me happy in my soul because I have the Dodgers in 7. So I think this one's also going to come down to the wire, but yeah, I think both of us are at least picking an NL team, so that'll just be fun to see whoever wins the NLCS in our circumstance. I don't. When I look at this matchup, though, like I said, we're gonna see Verlander, this deep Astros pitching staff, keep them in a lot of these games. I think there's gonna be. I'm gonna make a hot take, and I'm gonna say there's gonna be 2 World Series games that go in extra innings.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a hot take in 7 games. I feel like it's not super common though to say that it wouldn't happen.
No, yeah, I would say the safe bet would be 1.
Okay. Yeah, so the over under is like what, 1.5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the over. I think that there's going to be clutch pinch hits or whatever that just come in for the Dodgers at the end, and I think the Dodgers also have home field advantage.
So I'm trying to remember the Manfred man or the international tiebreaker in the 10th. That's not a thing in the playoffs, though.
I don't think it is, and that's good because that's why Gregory Soto had 11 losses out of the bullpen this year. That's nuts.
Yeah, that's the thing is they don't get the earned run, but they still get the decision, which is crazy.
Why do you play 9 hard innings of baseball just to watch teams lose to a position player in the 10th inning because of the stupid rule? I had to tweet about it because I was after I saw Soto had his 10th loss or whatever, I was like, that's got to probably lead almost all bullpen guys, right? So I looked and I tweeted total season losses by MLB pitchers who pitched at least 10 games this year out of the bullpen. First place, Tyler Alexander and Gregory Soto with 11. So what are the chances in the whole league? Tyler Alexander, 11 losses. Soto, 11 losses. Granted, Alexander has exactly 10 games pitched out of the bullpen. So it is a smaller sample size.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't think he pitched out of the bullpen that much. I feel like they leaned on him to start a decent
amount. At the end they did. At the beginning of the season, he was a bullpen guy. So I think that's – but I bet I would venture that most of those losses probably came from starting. But
how many different starters went down. So I think you can count on 2 hands how many.
And then number 2 with 10 losses. Then you had Mark Melancon and Will Crowe had 10 losses out of the bullpen. And then number 3, Drew Hutchison, 9 losses.
That doesn't surprise me.
But Hutchison pitched only 11 games out of the bullpen this year. So, again, smaller sample size because he ended up coming in handy towards the end of the season just to give us 5 innings every time. And then there were 6 pitchers that were tied with 8 losses. But that's a lot of losses for the Tigers, at least at the top of that list. When you have Hutchison and Alexander and Soto, racking up 32 losses between just those 3 guys, yikes. So that was an interesting thing I thought of when I watched that game when Soto blew that game. I was like,